Hello, my name is Ross Papadakis, and this is the NPL Victoria YouTube channel. It's 7th place Alamein taking on Heidelberg United side. That's really an uncharted territory. First time they've been in this position in their history. 6 league losses in a row, a chance for a 7th, but it's Heidelberg who do sit in 10th place in the league, of course, the reigning premiers of the NPL Victoria women's competition. Alamein looking for their first finals berth in over 7 years.
Help us level the playing field. Sign the parliamentary petition today to fuel the growth and fund the game.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Olympic Village for round 20 of the Senol NPL women's competition here. It's 7th against 10th this afternoon as Alamein take on the reigning premiers Heidelberg United. Both sides needing points for very different reasons in this game today. Alamein right in the hunt for a final spot. They juiced out by just the 3 points last season. With 6 games remaining, they'll be looking to take another step forward towards what could be their first finals appearance since 2019. For Heidelberg United, it's been a season that's unravelled after last year's championship success. They've lost their last 6 league matches, already the longest losing streak in the club's women's history. If they can't stop the run today, that record stretches to 7. Their task doesn't get any easier either. It's Sarah O'Donoghue unavailable this afternoon. Her absence is surely another blow for the side searching for a way to end its difficult run of form. We'll go through the lineups as well. My name's Ross Papadakis. I'm your commentator today on the NPL Victoria YouTube channel. For the home side, Heidelberg. In between the sticks today is number 21, Mia Bailey. Number 4, Hayley Phillips. Number 5, Eve Titakakis. Number 7, Irina Razumic. Number 8, Sarah Asuma. Number 10, Hayley Gertz. Number 12, Misha Anderson. Number 13 and captain today is Rosie Wild. Number 14, Maya Hazen. Number 16, Olivia Wood. And number 20, Minori Akiyama. And for the visitors, Alamein do have just the two absences. It's Analia Kopolis, Dakota Theisen missing from the squad, but regardless, they've got Miranda Templeman in between the sticks, followed by a captain today, Estelle Burgess, Chinatsu Shidara, Jessica Shilton, Savannah Anastasopoulos, Nev Dustin, Summer Lasky, Emma Runnels, Chelsea Blissett, followed by Priya Archdeacon, and then number 20, Mila Ralph. The last time these two played each other, it was all the way back in round 1 at Dorothy Labour Reserve. A 1-0 win to Alamein through Savannah Anastasopoulos. We'll round the grounds as well. Essendon Royals do lead Keilor Park 3-0. And South Melbourne do lead Spring Hills 1-0. Of course, a big absence, talking point today is the absence of Sarah O'Donoghue, that midfield maestro, as she's so known for, but a new look Heidelberg United, as they have Rosie Wild sitting in that defensive midfield role, and Misha Anderson alongside Maya Hazen in the back, as they go all the way back to Mia Bailey through to Anderson. Here's Tiktakakis. Here's back over to Tiktakakis, and then out to Razumic. Here's Shadara, who does find her captain in Estelle Burgess. Sends a long ball over down to Anastasopoulos. And what a duo they've had down that right-hand side this season. Have Alamein 3 goals to a name this season. Savannah Anastasopoulos knows how to score when it's needed, so we'll be very curious to see the impact that she can have on today's game. Another absence for Heidelberg, of course. Annalie Bidwell not in the squad. Sunny Plant and Abigail Winstanley do enter the bench. For Alamein as well, Ginger Kane returns as Olivia Wood goes backwards. And Akiyama, he's goes back to Burgess, who's taken down. And that's a free kick already for Alamein very early. And Lauren White blows a whistle in the opening 90 seconds of this game. It's on the floor. She's a tough player, Estelle Burgess. Did miss a majority of 2024 with an ATFL injury in her ankle. Ripped the ligament completely off her bone, so knows how to overcome injury in that respect, but there'll be Nev Dustin to take this free kick. Because she's without Dakota Theisen by her side, this midfield, and Annalie Akopoulos, but it is Dustin who sends a arching ball in, nearly over the top of Mia Bailey in that wind, but manages to hold on to that ball very nicely. Of course, despite being 7th place in the league, Alamein, they do kind of struggle for goals. They've got the 4th least goals in the league this season. Heidelberg have scored 30, which is quite a lot more than a majority of the teams surrounding them in the league table. Of course, a -7 goal difference for Heidelberg, a +5 for Alamein. And here's Akiyama back to Burgess now, who will go down the line to Mila Ralph. Mila Ralph gets her 3rd start for the season as well. Did start last week against Preston Lions, of course, in that win that they did have over them. Lots of talking points in the NPL Victoria Women's this week. Of course, the likes of Box Hill United now top of the league, and Bulleen Lions following suit. Essendon Royals down to 3rd, and of course it's that top 6 that make the NPL Victoria finals. Alamein haven't been in that position since 2019. They missed out very closely last season. Just the 3 points separated them in a finals position. Of course, the expanded final series means that they've got a much better chance now at making that position. But back the other way now for Razumic. Over to Asuma. Back to Shilton. To Shadara. Good Arcdeacon. Back out to Ralph. And now it's going to be Chelsea Blissett. It's good to see Alamein as well. Returning with just Shilton at the back for Alamein. And Shadara had been a very strong back line for them in previous years. Of course, there'll be just on that side as well. They've strengthened with Chelsea Blissett, of course, former Victory player as well on that left-hand side. But Arena Razumic will send the ball through to Olivia Wood, and Chinata Shadara will just send it all the way back to Templeman. Over to Dustin. It does slip over, but Arcdeacon manages to get a snapshot in. Back to Ralph, who turns. Of course, Mila Ralph as well scored her 1st goal in senior women's football just a couple of weeks ago as well. So it was a positive piece of football for her as she finds the score sheet in her maiden season in the women's league. But here's just Shilton now. Slots the ball through, and Rosie Wild would have been hoping to probably jump back into centre-back, her favoured centre-back position. But of course, the absence of Sarah O'Donoghue now will mean that she plays in that CDM role. And Misha Anderson, of course, formerly of Perth Glory, also spent some time at centre-back most of the season over there in the Nindre League, as a strike from range by Wood, and it's picked up nicely by Templeman. Of course, it's Miranda Templeman as well, who's started most of the season as well, kept Olivia Cowan out of the squad, as well as Kate Bean, but been a real stalwart this season as Rosie Wild sends a through ball through. Can't quite find Sarah Suma, but back out to Templeman, to Shilton, Blissett. Back to Shilton now. Templeman over to Dustin, who's dropping deep. Over to Shadara. Back over to her now. Under pressure as Boo just slots the ball through. But here's Akiyama. Tries to find the through ball through once again to Sarah Suma. Bit of a miscommunication there as well, out for a throw this time. Of course, it was earlier in the season as well. They did have Ji-Yun Seo. Made the move over to South Melbourne. Of course, playing today. Recruited quite well, Heidelberg. They usually do. Alamein, just the one new signing. Of course, Chelsea Blissett. 26-year-old, spent some time at Melbourne Victory. South Melbourne, Melbourne City, Brisbane Roar, youth junior international as well for Matildas. And sent back to Razumik. Here's Rosie Wild, who's chasing, but back the other way now is Anastasopoulos. He's Archdeacon. Back over to Anastasopoulos, who will send the through ball down the line to Runnels. She can chase, but Maya Hazen does intercept and stopped it through to Mia Bailey. Of course, on the bench for Heidelberg United as well, Alyssa Solis, Sonny Plant, Sam Kerwood-Wagner, Ruby King, and Abigail Winstanley. Back to Razumik, who finds Olivia Wood. Here's Rosie Wild. Back to Tiktakakis, who does solid through ball through to Asuma. Burgess manages to just hold her backwards and finds Templeman, who goes short. The long ball by Templeman. Here's Hazen. Finds Estelle Burgess. Does keep the ball in, but opts to go to a centre back in Chinata Shadara. Over to Blissett. Now down the line to Mia Bailey. Along to Asuma now, who just traps the ball in her feet. Goes to Hayley Phillips. Salt down the line by Phillips once again, and the ball's kept in thanks to the winds. And the wind's just about picked up as well here at Olympic Village. Nearly lost all of my belongings, but here's Mila Ralph though. Over to Shadara. Does find Jess Shelton now. Over to Blissett. Back over to Shelton. Slots it over to Rosie Wild. Goes over to Gertz. Ball over the top is found Templeman. And of course it's Alamein that are kicking towards the wind in the first half of this game, and we've seen the likes of Nev Dustin also try go the long ranger with the free kick, but apologies if the vision there was a little bit temperamental, but the wind's got us back into full swing of things, and back down to Blissett against Razumik, who finds now Shelton. Back to Blissett. Up against Phillips, but finds Shelton. Asuma's under pressure, but finds Shadara. Shelton. Now Blissett, who will send a long arching ball down the line, and getting chased out by Misha Anderson. To Bailey, to Hazen, who's got Runnels chasing her down. Akiyama finds Asuma. And Burgess is there to clear that one out of danger, and Runnels just about manages to push that one onwards to Mia Bailey. Of course, it's also Samalaski playing on that left-hand side of the front three today for Alamein. 7 goals to her name this season, does she have? It's the leading goal scorer for them. Of course, it's scored 25, so a good chunk of that's come through the American. Back over to Mila Ralph. Finds Blissett. Shilton over to Shadara. There's Burgess. Archdeacon now, who gets a start over Dakota Theisen. Finds Burgess with the cutback off Sarah Suma and out to Shadara. He'll send a long arching ball down to Mila Ralph, but Lasky's breaking it down. Misha Anderson over to Hayley Phillips. Rosie Wild back to Anderson now, who's under pressure by Emma Runnels, and Samalaski chases the ball, but Mia Bailey manages to keep a hold of it. Long kick by Mia Bailey. Shilton. Anastasopoulos. Quick feet by Anastasopoulos, but here's Gertz now, who knocks it onto Wood. Here's Phillips. Out to Tiktakakis, but Blissett to Lasky, who goes down the line to Mila Ralph with the through ball to herself. Does knock it all on and into the arms of Mia Bailey. Emma Runnels, 4 goals to her name this season as well. Did score 5 last season, so we're looking to replicate that goal scoring form. Of course, the 31-year-old Emma Runnels. So, do struggle for goals that likes of Zoe Horton not in the squad today as well. 3 goals to her name this season. The next best goal scorer, of course, Neb Dustin with 5. That's knocked on by Archdeacon. Through to Tiktakakis, who will drive now and have space in the middle to run. Doesn't get around Chelsea Blissett, and that's a great challenge down to Samalaski, who's sitting deep. Over to Dustin. Strike from range, and Olivia Wood's effort manages to go through to Miranda Templeman. Here's Burgess now. And those tuning in as well, Heidelberg's men's side do lead 2-1 against Melbourne City. Essendon Royals 3-0 up against Keilor Park. South Melbourne 1-0 up against Spring Hills. It's a goal very early in that game as well. Former striker, 7 goals to her name, was Ji-Yun Seo, who made the move over to South Melbourne, and since Heidelberg have really struggled for goals in those games. It's a winless streak that dates back to May the 12th, which is quite a long time considering it's now the 11th of July, so nearly 2 months without a win for this side, and would come as a shock as well for most of these players playing in this side, used to winning every single game pretty much every single year. But is Wood now, who tries to find Phillips, but it now goes back the other way, and Dustin knocks it onto Archdeacon over to Runnels. Akiyama now, who will go on the outside to Phillips. To Shilton. Then Runnels knocks it onto Archdeacon, and she's got 3 around her, but Heidelberg managed to deal with that defensively very well. Just about 15 minutes played as well here in the Senol NPL Women's. Back over to Olivia Wood. Shadara. Over to Templeman. There's Blissett chasing, but Phillips knocks the ball down the line. Taken down is Phillips, but manages to hold on to the ball. Cleared by Shilton. Haley Phillips as well. Played most of her footballing career over in the NCAA Division 1 side. University of California State Santa Barbara, of course, but Sarah Sumo as well, the other American in this side. The Carcass, of course, technically spent some time in America as well with Charleston Southern Buccaneers. Of course, they do have Sam Kerwood-Wagner on the bench as well. Scored 5 this season as Sam Kerwood-Wagner, considering she spent a majority of last season playing for Bentley Greens as a right back, considering all things out of that side. But of course, side that also sits bottom of the league as well in the Senol NPL Victoria. Just one win to their name, and both of these sides have, of course, beaten them on both occasions. As Savannah Anastasopoulos does run down the line. Akiyama's in front of her. She's got numbers in the box. Tries to cross to Somalaski and out for a corner this time. And you would assume it's the likes of Nev Dustin to take this one, to be honest, but Chelsea Blissett will be heading over to the corner flag. Of course, it's the league form that is the worry for Heidelberg United, but they do find themselves in the Nike Cup semi-final, of course. Chance to play for, I guess, one of the most coveted awards in women's football, as the ball sent all the way over the top and out for a goal kick this time. Just a bit of a halt in play, I think. Lauren White just restarting play there as Dick Takakis goes back to Nisha Anderson. Over to Mia Bailey. Here's Hazen. Anderson. Dick Takakis once again. He finds Phillips and slots a ball all the way down the line, and the flag's up. It looked close, but offside was the call in the end. And it looks like play was halted for Priya Arcdeacon, who does seem to have a bit of a bloody nose. So we'll play with 10 momentarily. Over to Shilton. Back to Blissett. Back to Titakakis, and once again it will be a Alamein throw. Of course, it's Alamein tend to have a bit of a slow second half of the year when all of the A-League recruits do come in, and this year they've of course only recruited just the one player as Dustin tries to get herself out of danger and does find Estelle Burgess, who has Runnels with her back to goal. Out to Burgess once again. Through to Dustin. Over to Shilton. Back over now to Chelsea Blissett. Looks like Pre-Archdecon is ready to return to the pitch, and back to 11 players for Alamein, and his first point of action to knock the ball down the line to Savannah Anastasopoulos. Doesn't have many numbers in the box, but Samalaski sits there. The ball's face a goal. Samalaski off the post, and Runnels with the follow-up. Makes it 1-0 for Alamein. It's a beautiful ball down the line by Savannah Anastasopoulos, and great team effort. Pre-Archdecon makes a difference. And Alamein are looking into the eyes of finals. For the first time in over 7 years for this side. Emma Runnels with her 6th for the year. It's follow up by Estelle Burgess down to Pre-Archdecon, down the line by Savannah Sopoulos. Across to Somalaski, but it was in the end Emma Runnels who did get the finish. Made her league debut in 2009, Emma Runnels, so very storied career in the Women's Football League system. And they lead 1-0 now, away from home. It's Misha Anderson. And that would mean, as things would stand, Alamein would be 6th place in the league. 11 wins to their name. It's right in the midst of finals berth. Of course, Burundara Eagles do play at a later date, but they do take on Preston Lions at Genesis Steel Stadium at 8:30 tonight. It is Anastasopoulos with another chance to capitalise and out for a corner. Of course, it's Alamein on 35 points, South Melbourne on 38, Avondale on 38, Essendon Royals on 41, Bulleen Lions on 42, and Box Hill on 44. Burundara with a game in hand on the teams above, 34 points to their name. So a win would move them up to 4th place, but Alamein so far can write home to the fans about a potential finals berth. Here's Blissett, who will take this corner. It's a bit of an interesting routine as well, as a ball sent long and high over to Runnels' head, back to Mila Ralph, to Samalaski with the cross. Chance for a counter-attack for Heidelberg as Arena Razumic goes to under pressure by Mila Ralph. Samalaski's there as well. Archdecon. Tiktakakis goes down to Asuma. Burgess with the clear. Over to Runnels. Back by Phillips. Just 25 played as well here at Olympic Village. At the halfway point of this first half, it's 1-0 to the visitors. Alamein. It was Emma Runnels with that goal. And what a goal it could be for them as well in the scheme of things in the second half of this year. Back to Chadara. And if you're Heidelberg, you'd be counting your lucky stars, of course, as well. They do have equal points with Keilor Park on 22. Preston Lions on 17 points, Melbourne City on 7, and Bentley Greens on 4. There's Shadara. Finds Wood. She will go from range, but finds Rosie Wild over to Tiktakakis from range. Over the bar it is. Back over to Shinatsu Shidara once again. Down the line to Runnels, but bounces off the face of Maya Hazen. Back over to Anastasopoulos, who headed on by Anastasopoulos. Down by Burgess, headed on by Runnels, and it's got Rosie Wild to go back to Anderson. To Hazen. Back to Tiktakakis once again, who's under pressure and lets the ball just manage to go past her as Lasky sends it back to Blissett. Outside. Back to Shilton, now to Templeman. Lasky with the massive cross in, and Mia Bailey retains. Back over to Maya Hazen once again. Down the line to Akiyama. Does just about keep the ball in, but brought back it is by Aina Panagiotis on the official on this side. And a ball sent once again to Anastasopoulos, but there's Mia Bailey now. Through to Burgess, but Wood knocks it on to Asuma. Around the outside is Asuma. Slots it through to Wood. Cuts outside, across the face of goal. Taken down is Sarah Asuma, and out for a goal kick now. Throw in rather. And back to Gertz, to Akiyama. Here's Hazen. Wood cleared by Shilton, down to Wild. Over to Asuma, down to Dustin. Anastasopoulos just falling over the ball there as Wood manages to find Tiktakakis. Here's Misha Anderson now. Tiktakakis, Phillips, Asuma, back to Lasky. Is Blissett, who's taken down. Won't be a free kick, but Tiktakakis will go the other way. And here's Gertz, who has a chance for a counter-attack now of the Burgers. Goes over the top of Burgess to Akiyama, but gets in the front of Akiyama and down the line once again. And potentially deja vu for the same positioning, but back to Bailey, over to Misha Anderson. Long by Wild down to Gertz. Over to Anastasopoulos, who does have a few numbers forward, but finds Archdeacon. Back to Mia Ralph. Over to Akiyama now, who will find Wild. Here's Asuma. Long ball by Anderson. Headed down by Shilton. Over to Dustin. Back over to Shilton, now Blissett, who does find Dustin once again, who's sitting a little bit of a deeper role than what she's used to, but still managing to pull the strings in that centre of the park. Made Team of the Week 4 times last season, already equaled that of this year. And a ball sent down to Anastasopoulos. She's got Hazen in front. Same as last time, but knocks out for a throw. It would be Miranda Templeman's 9th clean sheet of the year. If she can remain this result, of course, but it's Burgess who's offside after that follow-up. Of course, performances that have really helped Alamein defensively this year, just conceding just the 20 goals all season. 20 goals, 20 games, of course, played. Alamein, real rock at the back, and they've been pretty dominant defensively with that centre-back partnership of Shinatsu Shidara and Jess Shilton. And, of course, Anna Leokopoulos, when she's available, is playing centre-back, and Jess Shilton moves out wide. But Samalaski with the cross and goes out for a goal kick once again. And just about 10 minutes to go in the first half here at Olympic Village. Of course, elsewhere around the grounds as well, Essendon Royals did beat Keilor Park 3-0. Kelly McGrory with a brace over there. South Melbourne do lead Spring Hills 1-0. And of course, in the men's as well, it's 2-2 between Melbourne City and Heidelberg. Kieran Bramwell with the opener and 2 goals in quick succession by Heidelberg. And then, of course, Melbourne City. It's into the 94th minute over there as well for the men's. Eltham Redbacks as well do lead North Geelong Warriors 3-1. And if you're not a Victorian football faithful, as many are in this league, it was a one Marco Rojas who came off the bench as well for Eltham Redbacks to score a 90th minute goal. He isn't playing today for them, but he did play last week and scored within 15 minutes of making his debut for the side as Phillips. Does go over to Akiyama. Cuts down the line to Anastasopoulos, who's under pressure and knocks it out for a throw. Throwed in by Akiyama. Crossed in by Gertz. Back by Burgess. Here's Wild, cross and taken off the ball just at the end of that. And it was Melbourne City's under 23s that actually beat Heidelberg 8-2 as well over in Casey. Back for Alamein now with the ball over the top to find Lasky by Nev Dustin, but through to Akiyama, out by Anastasopoulos. Taken down as well, the free kick handed to Olivia Wood. Over to Titakakis. Here's Anderson now. Here's Asuma with their back to goal. Taken down, and a free kick will be sent Alamein's way. Back over now to Blissett, who will knock the ball onto Emma Runnels. Here's Tiktakakis. Finds down the line space. Cuts backwards to Wood, but Tiktakakis retains and knocks onto Arctic and down to Blissett. And here's Mila Ralph. Bit of a late challenge by Rosie Wild, but manages to retain the ball. Over to Lasky, who will play a little bit deeper today than usual. Of course, there's usually that wide left position or the lone striker. Of course, the 7 goals to her name. Did score 2 last week, but really gave Alamein those 3 points against Preston Lions in the 2-0 win, I think it was, over Preston. 2 very quick goals as well. 5th minute and 15th minute for Somalaski. And here's Burgess over to Runnels. Somalaski, according to SofaScore, is the league's best Alamein player with a 7.75 average rating. Nev Dustin follows suit, 7.5. And then Chinata Shidara and then Emma Runnels. Miranda Templeman following after that. It is another chance for the Burgers now, who will send a cross all the way over to Hayley Gertz, but then through to Templeman. Yes, the rest of the league as well, of course. Keely McGroarty on 24 goals this season, which is a number that's beyond the record books, really. The only person that's really ever come close is Maya Markovsky, 21 goals, 22 goals to her name. And, of course, there's only 6 games to go of this league as well. So, scoring goals for fun is Keely McGroarty. Maya Markovsky herself, of course, 18 goals, as Mia Bailey sends that one out. Somalaski with 7, of course, the league's 10th leading goal scorer. Somalaski as well, the 4th best player according to SofaScore. Kelly McGrady with an 8.31, Sloane Young with a 7.91, Chiara Bercelli 7.86, and then Somalaski sits on a 7.75 average rating for the season. Of course, you look at fullbacks in the league as well, and Stel Buja sits there with a 6.82 average rating this season. The ball sent to Shadara, who's under pressure, finds Burgess out to her right-hand side. And down the line she'll go. Still Burgess to Anastasopoulos. Back to Rosie Wild, who will just slow the game down a little bit with just about 90 seconds left of this game as well. Down to Jess Shilton. Down by Blissett to Lasky, over to Blissett. And the long ball to Emma Runnels, who's offside by Helena Panagiotis' standards, but and that game over in Dandenong Thunder versus Bentley Greens has started as well. We'll keep you posted about those results over there, of course. It's South Melbourne still lead 1-0 to Spring Hills, so as things stand, it would mean Heidelberg do sit 10th place, of course. Alamein moving up to 6th. Goal difference is, of course, not on their side, but Dustin finds Anastasopoulos down the line. Cross into the box, headed away by Hazen. Down by Akiyama. Turned. Now for another throw. Here's Burgess. Dustin. Runnels over to Dustin. Here's Burgess now. Here's Shadara. Shilton will find Shadara. Back over to Templeman. Into the final minute of regulation time here in the first half of the Senol NPL women's competition. It is still the 1-0 to the visitors, Alamein. And it's Emma Runnels with that goal. Beautiful effort down the line as well by Savannah Anastasopoulos. Sarah Sumo, though, is through. Does go for a shot, is pushed off the ball, but managed to get a shot off nevertheless, and finds now Mila Ralph. Headed on by Akiyama, and the fourth official has indicated a minimum of 1 minute to be added on in this game. 1 minute to just hold out this first half result as Burgess will go to Archdeacon. Back to Burgess. Here's Dustin. Over to Runnels. Slots it down the line, but Akiyama intercepts. Finds Gertz. Finds Phillips. Down by Shadara. Long by Shadara, who finds Lasky out on the right. Back to Blissett. Across to Rosie Wild now. He's captain of this side. As Gertz, former captain of Burundara Eagles, of course, played in that game 2 weeks ago. And they lost that 3-1 result. But it's half-time here at Olympic Village. 1-0 to the visitors, Alamein, as Emma Runnels breaks the deadlock there very early into the half. But I've been Ross Papadakis. Will be back with some more NPL women's action very shortly on the NPL Victoria YouTube channel. And we're back for the second half here at Olympic Village. It's the visitors, Alamein, so far lead the fixture 1-0 to nothing to the home side, Heidelberg. It was an Emma Runnels goal in the first half that is the difference maker today. We have a singular change for Heidelberg at half time. Arena Razumic leaves the field, and joining is number 37, Ruby King. Originally from Adelaide as well, Ruby King. Spent some time at Salisbury Inter and the NTC system. Spent last year in the under-20s, 5 goals in 18 games over there. So maybe finding the next type of spark as Prue Archdeacon's taken down, but Blissett will drive. And cut it back to Shilton. Here's Miller Ralph over to Phillips. And turn the lights on here at Olympic Village now as well. Across the face to Blissett, who's under pressure in the back third and knocks it out. And it's a great cross in as well into the box by Sarah Suma into goal kick for Miranda Templeman. And that South Melbourne game is just about wrapped up as well. It was Alexis Pantazopoulos who scored that goal for South Melbourne to give them a 1-0 lead pretty much. So they do remain in 5th place on goal difference behind Avondale as Estelle Burgess manages to go out to Savannah Anastasopoulos with the cross just off the crossbar. Almost could have been a second, but it's not out of danger just yet as Archdeacon goes back to the edge of the box to Ralph. This follow-up is Ralph! Mila Ralph! That is unbelievable. And that's 2-0 to Alamein. It's just her second goal in senior women's football as well. 2 in 3 weeks for her. And that could almost be the goal of the week here in the Senol NPL Women's. And just like that, it's 2-0 to Alamein. And Heidelberg have a mountain to climb now in this game. Can it be Ruby King, the substitute, to make the difference? Also looking to the bench, they've got the likes of Alyssa Solis, Sam Kerwood-Wagner, Sunny Plant, Abigail Stanley. And here's Burgers with the strike, and Templeman in between the goals there. For Alamein, their bench consists of Jordan Toms-Wedge, Anais Josevsky, Shatara Kashimi, Erin Stamatopoulos, and Ginger Kane. All would be pretty good changes to make for them to shore up that midfield defensive options for them. And Alamein are looking like they're going to get their 9th clean sheet of the season as well. Back now to Savannah Anastasopoulos. To Shinatsu. Shadara. For a throw now. Back to Hazen. To Akiyama. Through to Asuma. Akiyama once again. Taken off the ball is Burgess. Taken down. And a free kick for Heidelberg. And Dandenong Thunder are leading Bentley Greens 2-0 as well in Adam Piddock's first game in charge of that team, and sent through by Mila Ralph to Chelsea Blissett, who will again try find Mila Ralph down that side. Across to Dustin is Shadara. Back to Rosie Wild, who finds Hayley Phillips through the legs of Chelsea Blissett, and has some time to go into the middle herself. Around the first, around the second, strike from range is over the bar. And that South Melbourne game is finished off 1-0 to them. And wins picking up once again for either side. And it will be Tiktakakis down to Burgess, who intercepts. Finds Anastasopoulos. So Ralph. Back to Anastasopoulos. Looks up as well and goes around the likes of Maya Hazen. Down to Burgess. Crossed in by Burgess. Crossing once again, headed down by Ralph, and Emma Runnell's head finds the arms of Mia Bailey. It's a long ball to Shilton. Ruby King is in behind, but Templeman picks that one up to Shadara. Over to Lasky, but Tiktakakis now, who will go back to King with the cross along the floor into the arms of Templeman once again. Just 7 minutes played as well in this first half. Over to Blissett now. To Archdeacon. Here's Phillips. He has two men around her, but manages to almost get a shot off, but out for a throw this time. To Tiktakakis. Down by Lasky and out. Tiktakakis down to Olivia Wood. And that will be another goal kick for Alamein to retake. A corner kick for them. The cross in by Phillips. Over the top of everyone and out for a goal kick again. thankfully as well, it's goal difference keeping Heidelberg in the fight. It's Spring Hills who have a negative 15 goal difference to Heidelberg's 9. But it's the 39 goals conceded this season, 30 scored. Alamein need some goal difference to go their way as well to really have anything to do with finals at the end of the season. They do have a +7 goal difference as Blissett finds Lasky. We'll go from Reigns as well. Then out for a goal kick. And Dandenong Thunder have gone 2-0 up against Bentley Greens. And that's horror times at both football clubs, to be fair, in their own respects, but Bentley Greens as well, of course, the parting ways with George Katsakis and appointing Adam Pittick, and Adam Pittick leaving Thunder and going to Bentley Greens, and it's all a bit of a cycle at each football club as Samalasky is taken down, but the ball's kept in by Tiktakakis to another throw for Chelsea Blissett to take. Of course, considering the absences of Dakota Theisen, Zoe Horton and Annalie Akopoulos, doesn't seem to be bothering Alamein one bit. Of course, it's Heidelberg without Sarah O'Donoghue. That's probably an issue for them, but passing out of the back now is Alamein, who will just be patient with the ball, and Blissett will head into Runnels with the turn. It's taken off the ball, and it will be a free kick. Here's Burgess to Runnels, over to Archdeacon, who slots the ball down to Anastasopoulos. The quick feed by her goes across. Mia Bailey does pick it up after the second effort, but she will go the other way now. Shilton, Dustin, Blissett. Goes around Sarah Suma and Hayley Phillips, and here's Archdeacon now, who will find Olivia Wood. And now Archdeacon once again has some space and time. Shots a through ball through to Anastasopoulos, who's offside and looked close. Offside was the call though. Back down to Olivia Wood this time. Down the line by Blissett. Headed off the face of Misha Anderson, who stays on her feet, but Dustin slots the ball through to Ralph. Off to Tiktakakis, over now to Mia Bailey, who will look up and send the ball to Maya Hazen. Akiyama down to Suma. Sumer again. Back to Gertz. Now Burgess, who will drive and is under pressure by Sumer. But here's Anastasopoulos. Goes back to Shadara. Now it's under pressure is the Alamein back line, and a strike will be taken into the goal. It's 2-1 now. It was Olivia Wood with the goal. Halves the deficit. For Heidelberg. 2-1 now. And they have a mountain to climb, but can they climb it, Heidelberg? Back now for Alamein to go the other way is Anastasopoulos, who does cross the ball in, tries to find Ronald's head, she doesn't. Now along the floor to Rosie Wild. Now to Phillips. Across the face, headed down by Asuma. And it will be all the way through for another goal kick. And it was confirmation of Olivia Wood as the goal scorer. 2-1 now to the visitors here in round 20 of the Senol Women's NPL. And playing with a little bit more positivity now, Heidelberg, as they probably think they can get something out of this game, as Tiktakakis chases alongside Lasky, who cuts on the outside, retains the ball, does Lasky, and knocks the ball on to Runnels, over to Archdeacon. To Phillips. Down to Suma. And here's Burgess now, who will intercept and go to Runnels with the turn. And has Miller Ralph once again. He's 1-on-1 with some defenders near her. Here's Anastasopoulos, who will go herself. Cleared by Kiyama. Backwards now for her for the second effort is Anastasopoulos. Goes to Dustin. Cleared by Rosie Wild, who's gone down, unfortunately, and looks like she's taken a bit of a hit. Rosie Wild. And it didn't look great. I think it's just the wind taken out of her, unfortunately, but looks like she'll get up back on her feet, as the captain does, with just about 25 to go as well in this game. So far it's that Mila Ralph goal that's the difference maker, as Nisha Anderson goes to Tiktakakis. Down to Rosie Wild, over to Hayley Phillips, and chased down by Olivia Wood, and out for another corner. Southern road side of Olympic Village. Corner sent in. Cleared by Shadara, out for another corner. Cross sent in. Headed along. May Hazen goes wide. And there'll be a goal kick again. 25 on the clock for Heidelberg to rescue something maybe out of this game. Shout to Shadara, goes long. Down by Runnels. Across to Somolaski, who does have time and space and will go off the outside of her boot and out for a goal kick. Goes now to Tiktakakis as Akiyama. He's gone down, and Burgess will send the throw in down to Shinatsu Shadara. Over to Burgess. Back over to Shadara. And Templeman's under pressure, but does knock the ball along to... Doesn't quite reach her as Asuma will strike. And it's onto Southern Road now. Bit of a miscommunication at the back for the Alamein back line, but looks like a couple changes will get ready for Heidelberg as well. Looks like it's going to be Sam Cowood-Wagner coming on. As well as Alyssa Solis. And back to Tiktakakis, who finds Phillips. Quick feed by Phillips with the cross. Off the side of... And now a corner. It's going to be Sarah Sumer on this one. Crossed in. Cleared by Shadara once again. Back to her. And the cross, the follow-up. Headed on by Blissett. Down by Hazen. And out once again to a second effort. And Templeman retains. Back to Shadara. Out to Burgess. And it's a double change now. Coming off is Misha Anderson and Sarah Suma, and coming on, of course, was Alyssa Solis and Sam Kerwood-Wagner. You'd assume Samantha Kerwood-Wagner would probably play a bit of a progressive role in this game as well, of course. 5 goals to her name this season, replacing that of Sarah Suma, who hasn't quite got a goal to her name yet, but Sam Kerwood-Wagner, of course, spent the majority of last season playing as a fullback for Bentley Greens, and then played, of course, across the NPL Victoria, played some college football as well, and here's a chance for Ruby King with the quick feet, goes across to, it goes from range, once again over the bar. Another goal kick here. Kerwood Wagner spent some time at the University of San Francisco as well as various other colleges, and it looks like Anais Jasevsky will enter as well the field of play, and leaving will be current goal scoring winner Mila Ralph. Of course, pre-Arctic and as well remains on the pitch. Anais Jasevsky had come through the ranks at Box Hill and Bulleen Lions, and Borondara of course as well, and does traditionally have a goal in her from these range kinds, the different maker down that right hand side usually, and she does stay on the pitch in a more attacking midfield maybe role, playing off Emma Runnels in that respect, as Somalaski is going down the line herself. Gets around the first, across the face and out off Olivia Wood. But it'll be Alyssa Solis. Down to Kerwood Wagner. And now once again by Jess Shilton. Over to Kerwood Wagner. Looks like she will line up for a shot, but goes to Akiyama out on the left-hand side instead. And 20 to go. As Akiyama heads it in, Shadara heads down. Hazen. And into goal kick again. And the wind's just about picked up as well, and Mila Ralph did make use of it with her long-range strike, but and the sponsorship boards as well are coming off everywhere. But Alamein will just take their time in restarting play here. Shadara. Back to Akiyama. Is King. And across to Templeman once again. Is Blissett. Long ball by Blissett. Looks up for Somalaski, but Emma Runnels with the back to goal finds her anyway. Back to Archdeacon with the long ball to Runnels. Back to Lasky. Down to Runnels, but out by Alyssa Solis. Throw in for Chelsea Blissett to retake. Goes down the line. She did have Savannah Anastasopoulos in front of her, but out for another throw it will be. Blissett with the throw. Finds Runnels' head across to Hazen. Down by Anastasopoulos, but keeps up. Tries to dry, is taken down. No free kicks to call, but Mia Bailey gets it out of there. And chased down by Shilton, who knocks it on to Chelsea Blissett. And out for another throw, this time Eve Titsakakis to take it. Does go to Rosie Wild. Over to Titsakakis. Is Wild. Down to Gertz. Out by Shilton to Blissett. Runnels. Here's Archdeacon. Does find Jasevsky out on the right. Has Burgess for the overlap. And will drive Estelle Burgess. Still looking for her maiden senior women's goal as well. Estelle Burgess. As Shadara goes across to Kerwood Wagner. Down to Nev Dustin. Is Burgess once again. Turns around Ruby King and finds Shadara, who sends a lateral ball over to Chelsea Blissett. again will turn and find Shilton, who goes long to Karkas, intercepting. Down the line to Kerwood Wagner, but once again out for a throw with 15 to go. Here's Kerwood Wagner. The ball roll taken down by Shilton. Here's Lasky with a turn. It's Lasky now, who has numbers forward. Jasewski's out on the right. We'll go to her. Here's an ace, Jasewski. Jasewski with the chip. Just nips the top of the crossbar. Could have been her first of the season as well, but not to be for Jasewski today, but back the other way now for Heidelberg. Celeste. Tiktakakis. Down to Phillips. Over to Olivia Wood with a long ball down to Ruby King now. She does have numbers supporting her. Burgess is in front of it. Down to King. To Wild. Taken down is Tiktakakis. Wild taken down again. Here's King. Tiktakakis chasing. Templeman retrieves. Shouts for Ruby King to have taken a shot instead of passing it off, but does have the wind in her favour as well on this end. As Anastasopoulos seeing out a full 90 minutes today, potentially Savannah Anastasopoulos, which struggled for injuries previously in her career. It's good to see her getting consistent minutes as well this season. And what a player as well she is. 3 goals to her name this season, and that beautiful assist down that right hand side in that opening game. Opening first half, rather. Of course, it was Emma Runnels who has her 5th for the season, and Mila Ralph with her 2nd. Olivia Wood with her 2nd as well. And here's Jasewski. Jasewski with the quick feed, because can't get around Maya Hazen. And then out for Mia Bailey now to reassess the next best way to send this ball out. She will opt to let Maya Hazen take it. Short on the volley. Down to Gertz. Shadara in front. Turns to Wood. Tiktakakis. To Kerwood Wagner now. We'll find Gertz. Back to Kerwood Wagner. We'll try across and out for a goal kick once again. And a change for Alamein to come on once again. Taken to goal kick by Chinata Shadara. Anastasopoulos. It's the ball taken off Emma Runnels is Jasewski, and Somalaski's in behind into Mia Bailey's arms once again. Long ball headed on by Shilton. Here's Jasewski headed down to Dustin, who's been really kept quiet this game by that Heidelberg midfield. Long ball by Runnels. Down by Tiktakakis and Bailey. Lasky, Dustin, back to Runnels. Back by Takakis to Mia Bailey. It's Wood down to King. Down the line once again by Wood. Does have numbers in the box. Sam Kerwood-Wagner is lurking, but the Arcdeacon who goes back the other way to Rosie Wild. Knocked on by Shilton. Here's Akiyama down to Phillips. Intercepted by Jess Shilton. Over to Runnels. Lasky. Here's Blissett. Blissett will look up backwards to Arcdeacon and off the back foot of Chelsea Blissett, and Neve Takakis will take this throw quickly to Arcdeacon. To Lasky off the back of Arcdeacon, a substitute. A double change for Alamein. Coming off will be Nev Dustin and Savannah Anatsopoulos, and coming on will be Jordan's Tom's Wedge and Satara Kashimi. Of course, Jordan Tom's Wedge did play for Ashburton last year and Northern Tigers in the NPL New South Wales, as Miranda Templeman manages to keep a hold of it. Of course, keen AFL player too. Was a Central Coast Youth Academy player. And, of course, Tara Kashimi played for Mildura United, Barton United, Heidelberg United as well. An Afghani immigrant, refugee, per se. And it'll be a double change getting ready to come on for Heidelberg 2, making their last two of the day. And then coming off will be Minori Akiyama and Hayley Gertz. Coming on will be Sonny Plant and Abigail Winstanley. Those two players from their under-20 system, Heidelberg United. It'll be Kerwood-Wagner who goes through to Burgess. Now Kerwood-Wagner knock the ball on. Chidara does deflect, and a strike from range again is over the bar by Olivia Wood. And just under 10 to go, 7 minutes on the clock here at Olympic Village, and just the 3 changes for Alamein and 5 made for Heidelberg so far. Of course, Alamein have Erin Stamatopoulos and Ginger Kane on the bench for them. Rangers Templeman just having some fun in between the sticks today. Manages to pick that one up very slowly. Will of course get 8 seconds as well to take this one before a corner is given. It's a long ball. The wind brings that one just up short to Kasimi. Burgess brought back once again. Headed on by Wild. Down to Tiktakakis. There's a shin pad on the floor, but back the other way now is Phillips, who will look up for Rosie Ruby King. Down to Rosie Wild. Headed on by Maya Hazen. And out to Estelle Burgess, who will go to Satara Kashimi. Goes around Maya Hazen. There's Josefsky. Still an Josefsky. Will drive, brought back is an Josefsky, and It'll be back the other way now. And Heidelberg with a quick break. Here's Olivia Wood from Reigns. Almost over. Miranda Templeman. Could have been her second for the day and Heidelberg's second, but shooting on sight were the instructions by Dennis and Sven going into this game, but that wind's played a big part in one of the goals per se. Mila Ralph with the win up so far as things do stand, because there's an NPL Victoria game later today as well. It's Burundara Eagles taking on Preston Lions, 8:30 p.m. kickoff. Complications for the top of the league and the bottom of the league as well, as Sunny Plant's taken down, and it will be an Alamein throw. Down to Runnels, who's seen the game out so far, 85 minutes on the clock. Down to Kasimi, getting chased down by Maya Hazen. To Rosie Wild. Down to Tikakis, but kicked out of play. Blissett. To Lasky. Does try the heavy touch across the face of goal. Tara Kasimi miskicks it, but it's not out of danger just yet as Tikakis finds Olivia Wood to Hayley Phillips. Back over to the head of Prairie Archdeacon. Down to Tikakis. Long by Blissett. And out. And it will be the final change for Alamein. So Somalaski off for Aaron Stamatopoulos. Of course, just the 4 games this senior side. I haven't spent the last few seasons at Mississippi College. Aaron Stammer. Somalaski leaves the play without a goal, but quite a positive performance today. Of course, nearly got one in that first half and nearly got one just then as well before leaving the field, but Aaron Stammer gets 2.5 minutes to really show us what she's made of. And a strike from Reigns by Phillips. Chests off Miranda Templeman. And a bit of, I think a little bit of confusion behind what kind of tactics John Kyrgios is playing at Alamein with the inclusion of Aaron Stammer, Emma Runnels. Keeps the high pressure on. Back to Tikakis now. Over to Hazen. To Wood. Back to Tikakis, quick feet. Down to Wood. Across to Shadara, here's Shilton. Down to Archdeacon and long by Blissett. Here's Aaron Stammer. Stamatopoulos. Through the legs of Eve Tikakis with Kasimi turning and finding Emma Runnels. We'll go to Kasimi down the line, but isn't quick enough to beat Maya Hazen to it. And Tikakis goes to Sunny Plant. And the long ball to find Ruby King isn't enough. And up to Mandy Templeman to looks like there's going to be quite a bit of time added on at the end of this game as well. Turning is Rosie Wild to find Blissett, who will go unconventionally across to Still Burgess, done by Runnels. And it will be a minimum of 4 minutes added on in this game. Plenty of time for Heidelberg to get something out of this game. It's been pretty much them this last 20, 25 minutes as Sonny plants wide and ushered out by Chelsea Blissett. Back now to Emma Runnels, who will lead the ball back to Chelsea Blissett. It's been a real shining light so far in this Alamein side this game. Really been keeping that right-hand side of the pitch quiet, as well as Stel Burgess on that left-hand side of Heidelberg's attack, keeping Sarah Suma pretty at bay. But Kasimi sends the ball out to Josefsky. Through to Kasimi, who will go back to Emma Runnels along the floor. And a ball sent out of play once again. Zarktaken taken down. Here's Titakakis. Down to Maya Hazen, to Sonny Plant. Over to Runnels, who's chasing Wood. Taken down is Rosie Wild now, who will find Phillips. Kerwood Wagner with her back to goal, and outside is Ruby King, but throw in for Heidelberg. Down by Runnels. Not out of danger just yet, and be a strike along the floor. Will go beckoning by Hayley Phillips. Not long left either in this game. Into the 93rd minute of play. Alamein just need to hold on to what they can here. Put them very much into finals contention, depending on results elsewhere. Of course, that Burundara versus Preston Lions game kicking off in just under 2 hours' time. Ball sent by Mia Bailey Long, headed down by Archdeacon, and free kick to Alamein. Emma Runnels to take this one. Goes along to Erin Stamatopoulos. And there's plenty of room for her out on the left. And there's a cross to Kasimi. Slips and sent out of play once again by Alyssa Solis. And that's full time here at Olympic Village. It's the visitors, Alamein, that are victorious. It was an opening goal by Emma Runnels that gave them the confidence to go on and score a second through Mila Ralph, and Olivia Wood's equaliser wasn't enough. And Heidelberg, 7 losses in a row for them as they look ahead for a rough second half of the year. They take on a Bulleen Lions side that's flying, and then a Box Hill side that's also flying in what could be 2 very enticing fixtures for them. Attention also looks ahead for Heidelberg to that Nike Cup semi-final against South Melbourne next week. And they'll be hoping to win that one to rescue something out of this season. I've been Ross Papadakis, and this has been the NPL Victoria YouTube channel of the Senol NPL Women's Round 20. Alamein 2, Heidelberg 1.